is the PowerShell Podcast.
Over 1 million hits and counting.
The podcast for PowerShell and the PowerShell community. The PowerShell Podcast is a PDQ production, making device management simple, secure, and pretty damn quick. And now, here's your hosts, Jordan Hammond and Andrew Plaw.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the PowerShell Podcast. I'm Jordan with Ultra Mega Superstar and Champion Andrew Plaw.
Let's go.
Yeah, we need to approach this champion thing because for a long time there's been a gap that people have been well aware of, and for years I have been a gold medalist curler. 7 years now I've had my gold medal, and this entire time my co-host, no gold medals. Wow. Zero.
Fair. Of recent history, most certainly. But you know what, Jordan? I've risen up. I got a couple silver medals a little bit ago. That's nothing. We got the gold medal.
Right. And you got a gold medal in pickleball.
Very, very intense, serious sport, similar to curling.
So, yeah, these are not nonsense gold medals. Curling and pickleball are the pinnacle of athletic achievement, and we're both champions.
It's as real as it gets.
Yeah. All right, so now that we know that this is in fact the podcast of champions, let's get into talking some PowerShell.
We have a friend here with us today.
We do. I believe you showed up on the bar sessions at Summit this last year.
Yep. But
now this time you're the full guest. This is the big deal. You made it to the big leagues. Not unlike winning a gold medal.
It can't compare to gold medal yet.
But yeah, Clayton, so we've been friends for a while. We were definitely hanging out at Summit, and we've seen you in the community a lot and become friends with you over the years at this point. Wild to say. And it's been really cool lately to see you with some new projects and some awesome blog posts. And we figured we've been shouting you out so much on the podcast, we might as well have you on and introduce you to our friends and listeners.
Thank you, guys. Glad to be here.
Yeah. We figured around the sixth consecutive time we gave you a shout out for the content you put out that maybe we should just have you on for a chat.
I appreciate it. And I have listened to all of them.
You've listened to our episodes before. That's super cool.
Yep. Basically, if I don't get mentioned, I don't listen. Oh, I'm kidding.
You just read the show notes to see.
Exactly.
I don't know, where's my name?
No, I have a PowerShell script that just checks them to see if my name's mentioned. If not, don't bother.
Hey,
automated
RSS feed.
Yeah.
So, do you have a website? What's your blog?
I do. It's
shout it out.
It's Clayton T, which is kind of hard to do because it's CLATENT.com. And the reason for it was back in the day, I was bigger into nutrition as well, so it was Clay, the nutrition and technology. But now it's kind of just changed, and I've just kind of kept it that.
Nice. Clayton, that's cool. And the blog post we've been shouting out a lot is Getting Started with Automated Lab.
Yes. It's been a fun one with, now I have 3 versions of it. 3 versions. Then I'm going to come out with a couple more as well too, but yeah, we're up at 3 right now. It's been a fun experience doing that. It's actually my first ever public module I've made. So,
wow.
Yep, it's been fun then documenting that process as well of creating a module that will be a blog post. Thank you, Andrew.
Definitely want to chat about this more. But on the topic of blog posts and cool things, I believe as part of our pre-show, we usually share some community articles and some things that are happening. And I think that you came prepared to be our special guest and provide your community examples, because to me, I always see you out there. I always see you commenting and sharing and connecting with people in the community. So It's your time to shine, man. What's your first link you have for us today?
So I have to give Mike F. Robbins a shout out. He's back blogging now. I got the pleasure of meeting him at DevOps, and super nice guy, very helpful, everything. And the one I'm highlighting is API keys and Azure Key Vault, and keeping that secure. I think it'd be helpful for a lot of people. I haven't done it myself yet, so I'm going to be following that and using his blog for that.
Nice. Learn from the experience of others, make it easier for yourself. That's what we're all in this together for, right? To help each other. And help ourselves.
No, definitely. Then the next one is Tony Redman on monitoring members who are added to a Teams group. So basically, if someone gets added to a team that shouldn't be, it will automatically remove them. So you can't have people go rogue and say, "Oh, I want to add this coworker to the team." They automatically get taken out.
We had to do something similar for that for local admin rights after we had someone on the help desk give their girlfriend local admin. So I'm familiar with the process, but different product for sure.
Yeah, that's quite interesting on many levels.
Guerrilla IT.
Right. Well, isn't it? What was the company that had that just recently?
Oh, I'm not. Oh, someone had it recently.
Recently, where they no, because basically a bad actor basically called saying they were someone else on the help desk team. They reset the password, and basically got them admin.
Oh, that's how they got into the casino.
That's okay. That's what it was. Yeah. Yep. So kind of just yep. So someone that shouldn't have had rights, giving rights.
Yeah, it was one of those. It was my phone was stolen, and it was very well engineered request, and that's why process is important. Because if there's a super compelling story, there's I sympathize with that. If you have a process that says it doesn't matter, here's what you do in the situation, then you can say it's out of my hands. I'd love to help, but here's what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially calling it the help desk is going to be in general your newest IT people,
right?
So it's having process is critical.
Yeah, we've actually had to deal with process with that on more of our accounting side, where we have steps that have to be done, and if they're not followed, it does not happen. And I've seen it where it will not happen. I'm thankful for that everyone does follow that procedure, because we could be giving out money to people that don't deserve it or need it.
But it's important for security alone, but also you're helping out your newer employees, because the help desk, whether we want help or not, if they can just sit there and take it out of their hands or something like that, it's I would love to help. I agree that this is an onerous process, but this is what it is. It's no longer their fault. So moving blame off of first contact, I think should be done more often.
100%.
What else do we have?
And then also, I'm probably going to butcher his name, but I believe it's Alexi. Look, I don't even want to. I'll spell it Lagoutte. His GitHub. He does have a blog too. It's more, I believe, on VMware side. But his GitHub has a bunch of stuff. Fortinet. He's had a lot of contributions. He actually helped me out quite a bit in the beginning too, with his FortiGate PowerShell module, and we actually had set up so that you can actually use a two-factor authentication through PowerShell on FortiGates, and I worked with that with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you filed an issue and that kind of thing, or?
Yep. Yeah. Filed an issue, everything, and it was actually a really cool experience. Since I was so new to it, I never filed an issue. He's like, "Oh, yeah, just do this." I'm like, I don't fully. So then I'd go back, ask him a couple more questions just to make sure. Yep, we figured it out. So now I can just use PowerShell with two-factor and everything with it. So it's
that's a prime example of what we always say for communication. If you don't just go in with "Hey, can you do this?" but with "I'm looking to, can you help me?" And then he came back with, and since you were clearly working on it on your own, he was happy to keep on giving more advice. That's the kind of engagement that you need.
Dude, that's what we talk about. I love that.
It is. And you guys always said, I'm like, sure. And he lives in France, not close to time zone, anything. He could have said language barrier, but nothing. We figured out, there was a couple things where he was talking more technical than I understood at that point. And now I know, but this whole process of, oh yeah, pull this, do this. And I'm like, I've never done this before, but it was a great learning experience, and it was a great experience overall.
Sounds like a great chance to learn and a positive outcome at the end, and something you can really kind of hang your hat on, I think, as they say. Yeah, that's really cool. I love to see that kind of thing.
Yeah. So you guys are right. The community always helps. I'll say I've never had a bad experience when I reached out to someone.
Right. Yeah, we hear that so often. We're very fortunate in this community to have such a great group of people collaborating.
Mm-hmm.
That's so sweet. Oh, exciting. We're getting off to a great start, Jordan.
And now he's got Automated Labs' his own module. Now he can pay it forward. First time I open an
Exactly.
issue, I'm going to test you. I'm going to make
geez.
some fake account, and I'm going to open up an issue. We'll see.
Right.
We'll see. I'll report back.
The account,
Exactly.
not
Ethan.
Jordan.
Not Jordan.
Right.
Nothing suspicious.
not Jay
here.
Hammond.
J-Dog Hambone in the building.
That's right.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we have a couple more links here. What do we have next?
Yep. So a good buddy of mine, Sam Erd, I believe you pronounce his last name. I actually met him on Twitter from just random PowerShell stuff, and
Yeah.
we've actually become kind of friends and stuff, and talked to him while I was moving and everything, and he's been a great resource. So definitely go on his GitHub and his Twitter. He's very active and a great resource.
Have him on. I see him all the time on Twitter talking about PowerShell stuff.
Exactly. And when I wrote his name down, I'm like, I don't think he's been on the show yet. And I know you mentioned him a couple times, but
I think we've probably asked him. Mayoral is another person that we're kind of needing to reach out to,
Yep.
but our list is a
Definitely.
little long.
Yeah, those two are definitely I'm interested in. I'll give Sam a little push.
Yeah. We'll talk to Sam soon.
Yeah. Nice.
Got to. I want to learn more about him. You know, he definitely gives really useful stuff. I think from my observations, he's like an actual hands-on admin at a pretty high level and often sharing insights and some of the things that he sees.
And I think government-wise too. I think I'm not 100% sure on that.
Who knows? It's a secret to me.
Yeah. And then
who else do we have?
Yeah, the last one is so he basically only has YouTube, but Jacked Programmer. Of all, like,
are you talking about me?
Got me. That's what it was. You know, gold medal Jacked.
You know what it is.
That's
Thank
what it
you.
is. That's what I was like. I knew it's really you. It's all AI video of somebody else doing it. I know.
No, but looks like he has some cool content. Securing API keys with PowerShell secrets.
Yep. I mean, he's a bunch of other stuff. I'm trying to remember other ones right now off the top of my head, but I've used his a handful of times too over the years. I'll say past year.
Nice.
But definitely something I want to give a shout out that I don't really see him too much on social wise. Yeah, it was weird. And like his Instagram's like nothing. So, but I just want to give him a shout out because very good resource for people.
Cool.
Well, we also know what's on your mind. A lot of your links and references are all security based at the moment. So I wonder what your focus has been recently.
Yeah, it's definitely been targeting more that side. Since I don't want to say like I know that more than non-secure, but just really making sure everything is protected, and helping out others to give that kind of insight of where I remember when I was the only the only IT person in the company for 100 and I can't remember if it got to 200 or not, but the only IT person that was across 2 locations, worked in multiple states, and just making sure everything is secure, things that you should be aware of that. Yeah, you haven't been you haven't been attacked yet, kind of thing. Is making sure that you've done everything that you can do to make sure it doesn't happen, so that if God forbid something does happen, you did everything that you could do, and that you've let ownership know everything that's going on, so that it's not oh, guess what, guys, we got compromised because of this.
That is such a better approach. It's so important to take ownership of whatever you're responsible for. And yeah, business decisions need to be made, but you want to do things the right way. And it's also kind of like covering your own back. If you do things really bad and things go poorly, like you just don't want to do that. You want to have work ethic and be proud of your work. And it's a lot more fun that way too, I imagine.
Oh, definitely. And then also just knowing like you've let ownership know so that you've done your due diligence. Like if it's a cost thing or something, or if it's going to be too much of a change, you're at least letting them know, saying that I highly recommend that we do this, and it's up to you guys to make it happen.
Good communication. Boom. It helps.
Yep, definitely. Because there's nothing worse than you see something that I'll get to it next week. I'm too busy, and then all of a sudden something goes down and you're compromised.
Yeah. Defense in depth. Let's do our best.
Yep. But definitely.
And that, I guess, technically concludes the pre-show. I think we kind of dove into some topics there.
Yeah.
Quick shout out to the Discord if you want to tap in with us on another level. We have a PowerShell channel in the PDQ Discord, discord.gg/PDQ, and you can tap in with us there. But Clayton, when did you get involved in PowerShell? Because you've definitely been advancing like this. You've been kind of doing all the right things and putting yourself in positions to learn for a while now. But when did you first get started with that growth path?
So I'll step back a little bit. So I remember learning about seeing it back in, I have to write this down too because I would not remember, around 2012, 13.
Wow.
Yeah. Granted, I didn't go as deep into it as I am now, but I remember again I was managing ED, dealing with that, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. But we weren't huge, so it didn't give as many benefits in the beginning. Because there's only one or two people here and there. You can figure it out. And I was never a programmer. My level of programming was in college, high school. I created a site, and I did a PHP and MySQL and Flash. To really age myself on it.
Okay,
it was actually I had the book. Yeah. Yeah, it was a book that was this thick, and it was basically Flash, MySQL, and SQL, MySQL and PHP, and how to make a website database. And that was my level of programming. So, and I went to school for marketing. I've just always had a love of IT. My dad worked for IBM, so we had computers when we were young, but never really got in the programming side. So then in 2012, 2013, I kind of played around with it, and it just got too busy. To me, I didn't fully see the value of it. Now I'm really kicking myself for it, because if I started way back then, it'd be a different story. But life would be a lot easier. I'll say that. But yeah, then I took kind of a break. I'd go little, go streaks for a month or two. Every 6 months, 12 months. And I just never fully get it. I just get a little bit more each time, but never that real aha moment. And then in the past 2 years, when I'm just you know what, I need to do this. There's just I can't keep on pushing it off. I can't say I'm too busy. We're just gonna figure this out. And that's what I've been doing. I've been riding that wave since.
Yeah. Love to hear that.
I mean, the nice thing with PowerShell is because it can, I'm not going to say improve everything, but just about everything. No matter what you're doing in IT, learning and using PowerShell is going to return some sort of value.
100%.
So that's always, that's kind of one of my favorite things about it is just how adaptable it is to make just about everything better.
Yep. And even I wish I'd even just gotten into pester testing. How many times I would save myself of having those pester tests from back then and just slowly growing it. My life would be so much easier. And a whole team would be basically saying you have it checked for computer setups, switch configs, server configs, just knowing is this right or not.
Right. So infrastructure testing with pester. That's very cool. Yeah, I did some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so hey, you're here now and you're doing it now.
I've been loving it.
It's a fun journey.
Yeah. I'm curious because you said earlier in the show you did your first public module, the automated labs.
Yep.
And all the things that go into that, you have your documentation, your pester testing, all that. Did you do all of that from scratch, or did you use some of the tools that are out there to help you through some of that work, I guess?
So a little mixture. So I actually used ChatGPT for some of it, for some of the documentation, even some kind of thing for quick, I could remember exactly off the top of my head to do it, so I just wrote it in quick in ChatGPT. And it basically got,
close
the
enough.
outline. Yeah, close enough. And then put in my actual personal information and, change things here and there, and that's it. I had wanted to use Fred's PS framework or his new PS module, use that. But I just didn't, I'll say I wasn't patient enough to actually truly learn it and do it correctly. And same as with which was it? With Plaster. Like I started looking at that. I'm definitely gonna be jumping into both those, see which one works better in the long run for me. But both look like great modules. But I kind of looked at to see what they produced and then did it manually. So now I have that workflow, what needs to be done, to now I automate it with them as well.
So you used them as a teaching tool instead of I think that's a fascinating use case. That's awesome.
Yep. Kind of trying to see like, what are they doing? Because and that's also why I want to do the blog on how to create one first, because I do it manually. Because I ran into that same issue where I was trying to use these ones that automated it, but I didn't know what to put in. Like there's some generic, fields you can just get away with, but some of the stuff you don't understand what it is, or like, why isn't this working, or why is this thing showing up? So just knowing where everything goes on the back end just makes it so much easier to now use those kind of tools.
So what does your module do, really?
So basically with using Microsoft has their development basically development site, I'll call it, and basically anyone can log into it. You don't have to be a professional, right? Like it's just create an account, and they give you a 365 account. It's active for 90 days, but they renew it. Basically, as long as you're active in it, they renew it. And it's 25 E5 developer licenses. So I think the only thing it doesn't include is an actual OS license, but it gives you everything else possible. And they can even have where it kind of creates users for you. But I started using that, and then I started running the issue of they had to remember their names of like what person was what, and just got to be a pain of just like, it was this person or this person, and then make sure everything's spelt right. I was like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, I want something simple. So basically create an Excel spreadsheet that put all the users I want in it, has their licensing that they would need, location, title, I'm trying to remember what's on there. Basically all the basics of a new user, all the Excel sheet, and basically use one command of like add, CT365 user, and it'll add all, it could be from 1 to technically 1 million if you really want, like users to a 365 tenant, all right through Excel. So then once you're done kind of test with them, you don't want them to stay in there. So you just want to remove them. So all you do is then to remove, CT365 user, and it removes all of them. It's like that quick, because I got so many times where then you remember when you're removing somebody, their name, all that kind of stuff, where it's just, I don't have time for that. Like, it's just frustrating. Like, I was spending more time dealing with like spelling and, which did I add this person, not add this person? You just knew you had that template of this is who's been added. You don't have to worry about anybody else, and just be done with it. Like, hours spent of losing at the time that could have been better used.
That's awesome. And again, you have a 3-part blog series on getting started with it if people are interested.
Yep.
Sounds pretty cool and free to get started with the licensing. Exactly.
And then some stuff I have it as automated lab, as it's more meant for a lab, I'll say that, but there are some features in it that obviously can be used in production, but just make sure to test it so that you fully understand how it adds everybody. Because also like the licensing, you have to make sure you have the right licensing name for it, because it goes off by Microsoft's licensing name. So it's like 360, like E5, like it's some weird naming convention kind of thing.
Yeah. I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. So it's those kind of things you have to watch out for, but it will work in production. And that's kind of how it started with. I have one where it'll add a user to any group in the Excel sheet. So you can have like a worksheet named like say Connecticut marketing, for instance, like CT marketing. You could put all their 365 groups in that sheet, in that worksheet. It doesn't matter if it's a Teams group or distribution group or 365 group. It'll know, like, as long as you mark it which one they are, it'll actually add all of them to that one user.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So basically you could do, because we don't have I'll say the I don't say luck, but the ability to use dynamic groups in 365. There's just too much one-offs. It caused more work to do doing that dynamic. So that's why we could use these so that have that good starter base and then add anyone that we need to for it. And then on the other side, if that person leaves or they change a job title, you can just remove them. Basically remove, and that's it.
So I'm curious if would it create a conflict if you ran this and went through and added them to Connecticut marketing? But if it was a dynamic group where it says basically if they're in this state or have this job role listed, it puts them in the group there. Would it try to duplicate that, cause an error, or would it just already recognize they're in there and move on?
It would already recognize they're in there and move on.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's just more of a, you can use it to set a baseline and then still allow for your dynamic to grow, and I like that.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep.
Now, can you take us a little bit behind the curtains and what was the experience like publishing your first module? I know for me, I got kind of nervous and stuff like that, but what was it like for you?
Same. Like I'll say before I actually knew exactly how to do it, it was very, I don't say frightening, but very scary. It seemed like this whole big to do, but as long as you've set up your module correctly on the first part, which is key, which will be in the blog as well. That's why timing wise, as long as you have your actual module set up correctly, it's not bad at all. It's literally you create an account on the PowerShell gallery, get the API key, set how long you want that for, put that into, then go to like publish module, your key, the name of it, and you're done. Like that's all they're technically, like at a very high level, that's all it is. Like making sure you have all of like your, was it for your help? Is it help? Licensing. I'm trying to think of the other couple ones. Licensing, help. The site for it, like the source site for it. Those ones, like, do they have to be in there? No, but it's good to have them for users to be able to go to for them. But yeah, the first time was it was nerve wracking. And once I saw it, I'm like, that's so simple. Like, why did I wait so long to actually to do that? Because I was just using on GitHub doing that way, and I'm like, I really should put in the PowerShell gallery. But it's always that initial thinking of, it's gonna be so much work. But I mean, luckily I had it mostly all set up. So and I added the icon. That was a big thing.
You have a cool icon too, right?
Yeah, thanks to ChatGPT. Or technically, it was us. I need a logo.
Dolly 3.
Yeah, Dolly 3. It was through Bing Enterprise, but
flex on them.
Yeah, that I was like, I need something. But I know like how important the logo is, but I'm like, I have no clue to use for it. So I literally in 5 minutes had a logo. Like 5 o'clock in the morning, just wrote a couple commands, and that was it. And I did so. I'm not sure if you guys have used it before, but I was trying to do 365 Automated Lab in, which one was it? In Adobe's, because I have Adobe Creative Suite, and they have now their whole AI as well too, that they fully guarantee that it will not be copyrighted. Like it won't have any copyright infringement on it. So I was trying to use that, and it would never write 365. It would write 367 or like 358, but it would never write. I mean, I tried 100 different ways. I'm like,
you should do it one character at a time.
Right. Like it would never put all of it together. I'm like,
right.
No.
Weird.
Yeah.
But sounds like a cool experience, man. I'm proud of you. I know that it's just such an accomplishment. Posting anything publicly is definitely its own win. But when you can go through the whole process of really having a problem, developing a solution, writing it in such a way that other people can benefit from it and adapt it and improve it, and then share it with the world and put yourself out there, you're living it, man. You're living it. You're living it.
And I got to give a huge shout out to Christian Ritter. He helped me out a lot too as we were working on that too. Like I'd sometimes write something up, then he'd be like, "Oh no, try to do it this way," and I'm like, "Oh, didn't know I could do it that way," and it helped me out because now going forward, I know I can just do it that way to make it a lot easier. But yeah, he helped out a lot with that, so it was good to have that. I'll say that co-programmer on it as well.
I'm just excited to like hear of a business case for Dolly because I use it purely for nonsense.
Dude, I love that.
But
My
yeah,
dog's name is Dolly, so I'm just thinking of my dog.
That's great.
Yeah, I
It
think,
does have business.
well, I think last time I did it, it was a kitten kung fu fighting an alligator. And then before that was a velociraptor doing the Macarena. Like I don't do anything.
Nice. And that's usually what you hear about it. And then I thought I heard somebody else mention about it. I'm like, oh, like for my logo, I did it for a nonprofit thing. I'm like, it's not a bad idea. And I tried it and it worked. I didn't expect it to work, but it worked.
It's a helpful tool at times.
Yep.
I know Chrissy's doing some stuff in that space, and I'm looking forward to seeing what she's working on.
She's going hard with that now too, which I'm definitely liking.
Yeah, it's super sweet.
When she starts jumping on something, you know it's gonna be good.
Yep.
Well, as long as it's on par with her database work, then no pressure. But that's the bar.
Exactly. I'm not expecting anything less. She might come over saying that, but
no, she's great.
Love it.
Oh, so through the experience, any regrets?
Didn't do it sooner.
Okay.
I really wish I'd done it. Like anybody that's debating about doing one, just do it. It's really not that bad.
And it sounds like getting a helper would be even better. And if you're active, it sounds like people are willing to help.
Oh, the community has been huge. Like I'll just put something on Twitter and I'll have, even if it's just a couple people, or I've had people just DM me afterwards saying, oh, like, try this. And then we've, talked after that and had, really explained everything for me, what it needed, or just shot ideas back and forth with. And I mean, the community has been the best. I mean, as you guys always say, and some people are like, oh, they're just saying it. I'm an example of it works. It fully works.
Gosh, it's so cool.
Yeah. And on your part with Joe Hughes, who now it was last week, but I actually had posted on Twitter. Now I probably shouldn't say this, but a couple months ago, and I was like, "Oh, does anyone want to do like a virtual event kind of thing? I'll have a couple speakers. Does anyone want to talk?" Of course, who is it? Joe Hughes says, "You know what? I'll do it if it's around a certain time. Like I can definitely do it. Just let me know." And he was one of the first people to jump in on it. So,
wow.
He's not lying when he says my wife gets probably mad at me when I volunteer too much.
That's awesome, though.
But what is funny when you say, I'm like, it brought me right back to that. When he was one of he said, he goes, I'm available. I'll figure something out. Just let me know. And he said that if I want to do one too for his group meetup, I could do that too. So get offering back.
What are you going to speak about?
Well, that time I didn't have anything. Exactly. Well, I think I just started 365 May Live, but I'd probably do that. We'll schedule something. But yeah. I should start doing some videos for it to start practicing.
Yeah. I'd have you at my group. Gainesville PowerShell user group starting back up in this quarter.
Oh, nice.
Yep. Taking some time off, but ready to hit it full speed ahead. I need more PowerShell.
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Although it'll be my first one, but I'll be ready. Gotta sign up.
I have a question about your module. When you built it, did you use any templating?
No.
So you just went through it. I mean, it makes sense to sometimes,
I looked at them.
Yeah, to go through and like have some kind of reference material, even if you recreate it yourself. I know that's what I did. I would look at PS Cookie Monsters modules and be like, okay, there's all these things. What do they do exactly? Click through, read, and then like, oh, okay, that's what I need.
Oh, I can tell you, it was Chrissy, Doug,
Nice.
Chrissy, Doug. When I say Chrissy, basically all of SQL and
DBA tools.
Yeah, DBA tools with a couple other modules that she has. Who else? I think even Mike F. Robbins too. But there's a handful of, and Jeff, go through Jeff X stuff. I know I'm forgetting people that I looked through too, but yeah, there was a handful of mine. Kind of see how what the common consensus was, and then saying to some of the newer modules too, just to see if some were from like 6-7 years ago, and just seeing if anything had changed on it, like of best practice wise. So because I just wanted to make sure at least starting with best practice for it.
Well, it's a interesting approach. I think it's the right approach because templating is nice, but knowing everything that goes into it is also critical. So if you start off with a template and you don't necessarily know everything about it, I think it can lead to some problems. So spending the first time to learn everything, I think, is the absolute correct way to go about it. But then in the future, it's like, okay, I know this, now do it for me.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah. If you're going to use a templating solution, read the full documentation first.
Right.
And there is value in going through it yourself.
Right. And that's what happened to me was where I was trying to read it. I'm like, I might look at this manually do this first, and then I'll come back to it and reread the docs there. Now it'll probably be a piece of cake. But I just remember, like, it wasn't super recently, but looking through it, I'm like, this is just, I don't fully get it. Like, oh, just do this. I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, need the baseline first.
Yep. I just want to make some folders and make a module. That's all I want to do. Like,
so I'm looking at your module. I see there's a tests folder. Do you have any automation on those tests, or do you just manually run them?
I just manually run them right now.
Okay. Sounds like a cool next thing. Another part of the kind of learning curve, I think, is to get the module and then eventually figure out all the automations to and then you get, it's just really good experience, and you have proof of concepts that you did it publicly.
Yep. And I'll full disclosure on that. Christian wrote this, and we kind of adjusted him a little bit. But he's like, just for testing, to give us kind of a testing spot. And doing kind of the basics, where he's like, here's some of the basics to have in there, and then we'll grow them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and I had to change some stuff on them a little bit when we changed some of the directories, but that's definitely my next step of learning more Pester and then GitHub Actions.
Yeah, exactly. Just GitHub Action to run against it and run all the tests in the test folder and output the results. And yeah. That's where I think referring to a templating solution, even if you just generated a fake project, seeing how they go about that would be helpful. They also have a bunch of tests frequently built in that you might want to borrow from or compare notes with. But that's awesome, man. It sounds like you're on some cool stuff. Still more things to learn, as always, right?
Tons.
More chances to improve our modules and collaborate and write new blogs about GitHub Actions and maybe speak about them.
Yep, between that and probably Pester, because I'm going to dig into that.
Yeah.
On the Pester side, since I understand the concept, but just writing them and how they fully work, I don't yet, to an extent. Like when I've checked Chrissy's and all, like when you see their Pester tests, it's just like way over.
It's also a brand new mindset, right? Because instead of I want to do this to get this result, you're assuming this result is this giving what I want.
Right.
It's just a completely different way to approach it.
Definitely. And then especially then trying to find documentation between 4 and 5, like we find stuff and it doesn't say if it's 4 or 5, so you gotta look at the year and hope it is. But I've been reading up enough that I can catch it now. But yeah, it's definitely, there's so many things I want to do with that project for 365 Automated Lab. Like I said, GitHub Actions, Pester, just automate more of it. Just learn all the things, connect it, and at some point you want to have it where they'll basically connect to a test 365 environment, so run them on there as well. Do that. I keep the keys in GitHub, so using the GitHub secrets and using that as well too. So a lot of things, a lot of fun times.
And once you kind of go through the process that you're going through one time and kind of make sure you actually learn it, next time you have a module idea or a problem that you solve, the barrier to entry is way low. And then all of a sudden you have this suite of tools that you maintain, and ideally in a perfect world, some of our listeners help out with and get value out of, and, really keep that community based mindset going forward.
No, definitely. It's been an amazing experience. Just creating it, and then I was surprised. Like it even has 40 stars, from some no name. Like anything else even possible. Like
Dude, that's huge, man. Congrats.
Like just like seeing that, I'm like, wow. And then I think even the module already has like 15 downloads. And I promise you I did not inflate those numbers by just installing it on multiple machines. Only one is me. But yeah, it's just crazy with the outreach. I've had help with it, and just the whole experience has been amazing. Anyone that I've asked for, could you help me out a little bit? No issues.
So Jordan, we haven't been lying to people this whole time. We've been telling them stuff that is actually accurate and true.
100%.
That's a relief.
Yeah, exactly. I want to test the theory.
This would be a very different episode if it's like, oh no, it was horrible.
Right.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But,
No.
Drew McKellen. I mean, okay.
Oh man, but that's great to hear, man. And it's cool to see it. It's awesome to be part of this community where we're all kind of learning, growing, putting ourselves in a better spot together.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times facing fears. It's kind of there is the programming language, but there's also a lot of other factors to it. And we're very happy to have you be part of the community and be a friend of the podcast. And it's great to see, man.
That. Likewise.
I'm just so warm inside, like over this whole thing. It's like so great. I just, so full circle, man. You've come such a long way.
It really is. I still remember the first episodes.
It's just, I think the core of Andrew's job is building a community. So every time he sees successful community, he's like, this is it. This is my jam.
Right.
Unrelated to that. Yeah, no, it's cool to see. Because now, man, you never know who's going to be listening to this that's maybe where you were at the start of your thing. And now you've kind of demonstrated through your story and experiences that, hey, yeah, if you just take that first step, it really is okay. And you're actually really proud at the end of it. You've learned a lot. You felt like, you've built a brick wall, one brick at a time, because you've had a lot of small victories along the way, culminating in this fantastic published to the gallery 3-part blog series, joining us on the podcast, adding more automation and pester tests. Oh my gosh. What a fun adventure, man. It's just like, or we could just have a job and just, okay. Or we could make it fun and engage and learn and grow together. And, I hope people take ownership in the way that you have and get to experience the fruits of that labor.
Myself a little. I mean, and it kind of happened like with Drew, like seeing Drew too, seeing him grow. It's crazy. Like,
love to see it.
Yep. All those little things they think, it'll never happen. And here we are. I'm doing a podcast.
Still going up too. Still going up, man.
I like that the podcast is becoming an achievement baseline now.
It is.
Before it's like we're just thrilled to have people that would be willing to do it, and now we're here. It's like, oh, I'm so honored. It's like, really?
Well, he said he's listened to every episode.
Yep.
Think about how many hours that is of him kind of hearing things from us. I mean, I wish I could listen to it, but not. I'm glad that we're a helpful resource, and we're here every week and helping share stories like yours.
No, it's been great. I mean, I look forward to it every Monday. I mean, I have an hour commute, so it's perfect. Hour to hour and 20, depending on traffic.
Hey, and you know what, man? I know you've been listening for a while and you've been supportive publicly and like said nice things to us and stuff. And it really does mean a lot because sometimes you never know. Are people really connecting with what you're saying? And really appreciate your positive feedback in that regard.
Anytime.
Now,
well, as a longtime listener, I think you know what's coming.
Oh, jeez.
He might know, but he's not ready.
Nope, I'm not.
I didn't say he's ready, but you know what's coming. You get the common parameters where we're going to ask 3 questions that I used to jokingly say were difficult until I had to write a blog on one of these questions, and now I apologize to all the guests. But are you ready? Well,
not really, but yeah.
All right, question 1. What is one time something went wrong while on the job, and what did you learn from it?
So yeah, this is an interesting one. This was a little, I don't say earlier, Mike, at least over a few years ago, but it happened where we had a managed ISP, and we had managed routers with them. So they did our whole routing, our VPN, everything through the ISP. Since it was just myself, one other person, like it wasn't something that we did. I'll say not something that we need to know, but for the business wise, it wasn't something that we need to know. Kind of like it was better just to outsource it, have them do it, not worry about it. And we were making a change. I forget what day of the week it was, but it was after hours. Basically, it's to change some VLANs to give access between our switches, but we needed the route so it could hit the multiple sites. And got this tech, seemed very knowledgeable, spoke about how he has all these scripts to do this. And, him and I like BS. I'm like, oh, this is great. I have scripts to back everything up. Everything gets saved, this and that. I'm like, great. It's awesome. And we're about 2 hours on the call. Everything's good. We're done. Test everything. Everything's good. And then 2 days later, there's a power outage. Comes back up. And all of a sudden, early afternoon, some people are like, I don't see these files. I'm like, what are you talking about? So a little back to this is we had at the time servers at the 3 sites. They had local servers, so that's the file servers, but then they sync through DFS. So it needed that VPN, if you kind of see where this is going. And they're like, we don't see it. I'm like, no. And then someone else, and there was a couple other people who started digging into it. It lost the VPN connection between the sites. And we're like, what are you talking about? Like, everything was working. What happened? Well, from that power outage, the guy had never saved the switch fully to the routers. He had done the save, but not the full save, so that if you restart it, it doesn't save it. So it was only like the I forget what they call it, like the live. I forget what they actually call it. But basically, once you restart the router, it loses that config that you saved because it wasn't saved to memory for it. And it's a known thing that you have to do that. Like even like on Dell switches and stuff, like you have to like once you reboot them, like if you haven't done that save to memory, it will not save it. Yeah.
That's
so
not good.
Yeah. So then we're dealing with this ISP, and they're big, and it was just not really getting response back from them right away. It's just like fun. Like now we're dealing with this. Like luckily we had synced file servers within the past day, so it wasn't crazy at that point, but it couldn't go on for long because when someone made it, say in Connecticut, and then say in Texas, that person wasn't going to be able to see that change because then we get an email saying, hey, I can't see this. Why aren't this person not seeing the changes? So we start hounding them, and they're like, oh no, we'll get somebody scheduled on it. Like, don't hear anything. So then we go on basically 2 days of this, and there's a tech's going to reach out, doesn't reach out. We need a scheduled time. They still reach out. Then we get a call like late at night, and we didn't know it was them calling, so we didn't even pick it up because it wasn't like we were expecting it. So why would they be calling? And so we did basically after 2 days, like after like 40 hours, like we can't, like this is just gone long enough. So luckily we already had firewalls in place, and we actually worked with our consultant and set site VPNs with that instead of using the managed ISP. And it actually worked better than the managed ISPs.
Saves the day. There we go.
Yeah. So that was good that we had that already in place. If we hadn't had that, we would have been screwed. Because literally it took them months. And full disclosure, like after like a week of it, it was just like, this is working better anyway. So why even push it at that point? Like we have bigger fish to fry than dealing with that when this is working way better anyways. And what I basically learned from that is no matter how smart that person on the other end seems and sounds, always make sure you're prepared before and after. So what I should have done is made sure I had a copy of the config that worked prior, because even once we got someone, they couldn't figure it out either. So we did get someone at one point that tried it, couldn't do it. And then literally after like 3 months, they finally got somebody who could figure it out. So I was wondering, like, why weren't those other saves in there from what prior? So that was a little concerning. And it was all on their end, so we didn't have like direct access to it. Like we had to kind of like ask access for it, kind of thing. Like we could get it, but at that time we were like, it wasn't like a main thing. Like they always handle it. We're good. We're okay. Never do that. Don't assume. Like make sure you have documentation, digital and physical. Because if your network's down, how are you going to get to that documentation anyways? If it's down, depending where you save it.
Great advice right there.
And then making sure that they save it the correct way. But
well, if you don't have access to it, there's only so much you can do, right?
True. At least ask, so at least know you do your due diligence.
Yeah.
And then making sure you have a copy of that exact config that you know is working after.
Yeah.
Because, and this goes for like servers, switches, routers, doesn't matter what the equipment is, like even if the printer. So there are times where
backups matter, yeah.
Yeah, just do it. Like I know it's an extra 10 minutes, but just do it. Like that 10 minutes then will save you hours and days of aggravation going forward. Like and also having that so that even if you don't understand it, because like at that point was I going to truly understand those Cisco router configs? And no, but at least I could let somebody else look at them to confirm if I ever had a question. So, and knowing that they are right.
Yeah. All right. You ready for second common parameter?
Let's do it.
All right. With all of your current mega genius super level knowledge, what's one thing you would tell your younger self when you're first starting in IT?
I love this question. And I've heard so many good answers on this too, where I'm like, I didn't want to try to repeat too much of some of them, but I'd say get a mentor. Like find somebody that you can like lean on, that can help you out. And if you can't find a mentor, like just a community, like the PowerShell community, that is very open and helpful, to make sure you're going on the right path. And that I'm trying to think, that necessarily that they would show you the right path, but kind of help you lead on the way that you want to go, and that you're following it correctly and taking as many obstacles out of the way that if you didn't have them, you'd be hitting. I mean, because like making a module, like there's some stuff where, yeah, I could just go at manually. I mean, granted, I even looked at like Adam Driscoll's YouTube of how to publish a module. 10 minutes and I was done. If I had just gone through documentation on how to publish a module, it would have been days of going through just to read through. Even, I mean, Microsoft has great documentation on it. It's a lot because they're very detailed. I mean, it's great, but for what I need to get done, Adam's 10-minute video, maybe 15, did it, kind of thing. So yeah, it definitely getting a mentor or having community that can bounce ideas off, sanity check. It does it seem right, kind of thing, just for on all levels of a job and on your career path as well, so that just to make sure that you're going the right direction. I mean, we can all go kind of long ways out the wrong way, but just kind of bring it when you can, just to help you, catapult faster. I mean, if you want to. So, I mean, some people.
Well, as a guy that's wasted at least a decade, I can appreciate that advice.
And I do remember you mentioned about that, so. But it happens.
Right. Yep. Are you ready for the final common parameter?
No.
Yeah. Too bad it's coming. What 2 modules do you find worthy to join 365 automated labs on your podium of excellence?
Let's see here. I had to write is this? I'm like, you are correct. I'm like, it's 3. It won't be that bad, but just like picking.
Not easy.
No, because like you don't want to offend somebody, but like there's just so many good modules out there. So I'm going to go to ones that aren't as mentioned as much. I mean, there's always like the Doug Fink of PowerShell AI, import Excel. I mean, that's basically what 365 Automated Lab runs off of. Is basically it's import Excel and the 365 API, like the Graph API and all, like that is what 365 Automated Lab is. So I definitely give Doug a shout out. And a lesser known, I'll say lesser known, Chrissy project is the KB update, which does Windows updates through PowerShell. So you can actually even use it for offline computers. So you can actually go to a computer that is online and save all of the module. I save all the updates to USB. Like, and it'll say which ones are needed too, and you can even pick out which KBs you want as well too, which updates. So you can even search for, say, great. I'm not sure who knows the actual KB numbers, but you can do it through that way as well too. But it saved me a bunch of time using that, and I know what's his name, Adam Bacon uses it a lot too. It has a lot of good things to say about it as well. But yeah, that's been super helpful for me too. And then the other it's called As Built Report, and it doesn't. I don't say it doesn't do anything because that's wrong. It basically creates a beautiful as built report for whatever you're using. So say it's a server, it will actually create a whole PDF or Word document, or I think there's one other one, report for the whole entire configuration of it could be your DC or just a server in general, and it has checks in it. So you can say if you have it configured wrong, it'll actually pick it up. It'll say if you've had too many one thing kind of set up, it'll mention that. It'll of course show like storage space. I mean, it gets very granular. They have it for FortiGates as well too. They have a lot of VMware products. It breaks down every piece. So like, use that for your documentation, especially if you've just built, or if you don't have any at all. Use that to kind of see the current status of your devices. It's amazing of how in depth it goes, all for free. I mean, it's insane of how much it picks out.
You smashed that question. Great. Those are some great call outs. Links in show notes.
Well, Clayton, I'm not sure. I mean, you are aware that Andrew has always been a glowing beacon of excellence. He has an expertise that has been unmatched, never will be. But today I've noticed that all of that shine is a little bit more golden. And it's nice to see that even people that are world-renowned figures in something can still take it to the next level. And so we get the privilege of watching the new and improved, best ever shield of the podcast. Take it away, Andrew.
Modest introduction, Jordan. Thank you. Thank you, listeners, for joining us today on another community-oriented, fantastic, future award-winning PowerShell podcast. Thanks so much to our amazing guest today. And listeners, if you'd be so kind, if you could like, comment, subscribe, give us a review on Apple Podcasts or your podcast platform of choice. You know, we're everywhere. You can listen to us anywhere, in your car, at the bar, at work, wherever. And if you want to chat with us on a more personal level on the day-to-day, join us on the PDQ Discord, discord.gg/PDQ, and there's a PowerShell channel. I'm always trolling around in there, having some fun. Clayton, thank you so much for joining us, man. Where can people find you on the World Wide Web?
Mostly I am Clayton, so CLATENT, for the website, Twitter, all those kind of things. And then my GitHub is DevClate, since that was created a while back. But yep, and then ClaytonT.com as well. It has all my social on that as well too. So you go there for that and the blogs. Whatever else I'm making.
Clayton, you're a friend. Thanks for joining us today. You did a great job. Everyone, thank you for listening. I hope you learned a thing or two and continue to live out the values that Clayton's been enjoying.
Thank you, guys. It's been an honor to be here.
And it's important to remember, curling is better than pickleball.
Thanks for listening to the PowerShell Podcast. The PowerShell Podcast is a PDQ production, making device management simple, secure, and pretty damn quick.